The woman sitting across from him in the coffee shop started crying before he even said anything. She just looked at his face and tears began streaming down her cheeks, and she whispered words that made no sense to either of them at the time. "You taught me how to come back. You helped me remember how to be born." He had never met her before in this lifetime, had no idea who she was or what she was talking about. But when he finally did his own regression session 6 months later, when he saw what his soul had been doing in the space between lives for thousands of years, he understood. He was a guide, a teacher, someone who helped other souls prepare for incarnation, who taught them how to navigate the difficult transition from spirit to flesh, who showed them how to remember themselves after the forgetting. He helped them return. That was his work. His name was Aaron, and strange recognitions like the one in the coffee shop had been happening his entire adult life. People would meet him for the first time and react with unusual emotion. Some would cry, others would feel instantly comfortable, like they had known him forever. Many would say things like, "You feel familiar," or "I think I know you from somewhere," even when they definitively had met before. Aaron had learned to brush it off, to make jokes about having one of those faces. But privately, the pattern disturbed him. Why did strangers keep having these reactions to him? The incidents increased in his late 30s. He would be standing in line at the grocery store, and the person behind him would suddenly start talking to him about their deepest fears and struggles, confiding things they wouldn't tell their closest friends. He would attend a party and end up in deep conversation with someone about the meaning of life and death, about their spiritual questions and existential confusion. People seemed drawn to him in moments of crisis or transition, seeking something from him that he didn't consciously understand how to give. But he found that he did know how to help, even without understanding why. He would listen to people's struggles, and insights would come to him, perspectives and wisdom that didn't seem to be his own. He would say things that helped people feel less alone, less afraid, more able to face whatever challenges they were dealing with. And afterwards, people would thank him profusely, saying he had given them exactly what they needed to hear. Even though Aaron often couldn't remember exactly what he had said, the woman in the coffee shop was the incident that finally pushed Aaron to seek answers. He had been sitting alone, working on his laptop, when she approached his table. She asked if she could sit down, said she felt compelled to talk to him, even though they had never met. Aaron agreed, curious, as always, about these strange encounters. And the moment she sat down and really looked at his face, the tears started. She apologized for her reaction, tried to explain. She said she had been in therapy working through severe anxiety about having children. She desperately wanted to be a mother, but was paralyzed by fear of the responsibility, fear of bringing a child into this difficult world. And looking at Aaron, she felt a memory surfacing that didn't make sense. She saw him in her mind, not as he looked now, but as a being of light, teaching her something crucial before she was born. Teaching her that being born was safe, that coming to Earth was a gift, not a curse, that she would be okay. Aaron didn't know what to say. He wanted to dismiss her vision as overactive imagination, but something about it resonated, and when he looked at her, he felt a sense of recognition too, not of her face or personality, but of her soul. Yes, he did know her from somewhere that wasn't here. After that encounter, Aaron couldn't stop thinking about it. He started researching the space between lives, the realm where souls existed before incarnating. He read about guides and teachers, beings whose job was to help souls prepare for their upcoming lifetimes, to counsel them through the choices and challenges that incarnation involved. And something in him recognized this information as familiar, as if he was remembering something he had once known. A friend suggested he try past life regression, but specifically the type that explored the between-life space rather than past incarnations. She gave him the name of a therapist, Dr. Vivian, who specialized in what she called life between lives regression. Aaron made an appointment, nervous but also excited about finally understanding these strange patterns in his life. Dr. Vivian's office was peaceful and filled with light. They talked for a long time before beginning any hypnosis. Aaron described the recognitions, the way strangers responded to him, the insights that came through him when people needed help. Dr. Vivian listened with interest and said it sounded like Aaron might be accessing his between-life role, a function his soul performed when not incarnated. She explained that some souls spent their time between incarnations helping other souls, serving as guides or teachers or helpers in various capacities. She suggested they do a regression to explore Aaron's between-life existence, to see what his soul was doing when it wasn't in physical form. This would help explain the recognitions and might reveal skills and knowledge he was unconsciously accessing from his non-physical work. Aaron agreed, ready for answers after years of confusion about these mysterious patterns. The regression began with Dr. Vivian guiding Aaron into deep relaxation, using breathing techniques and progressive muscle release to alter his consciousness. Aaron felt himself sinking into trance, his awareness shifting from physical to something more expansive. Dr. Vivian counted him upward rather than backward, suggesting that with each number he would rise above his current life, above the moment of birth, into the space where his soul existed between incarnations. Aaron felt himself moving through layers of consciousness, through the veil that separated physical from spiritual existence. And as he emerged on the other side, he found himself in a realm of light and peace. He wasn't in a body. He was pure consciousness, awareness without physical form. And he was in a space that felt like home in a way Earth never had, surrounded by other souls who glowed with their own unique colors and frequencies. Dr. Vivian asked him to describe where he was, what he was doing. Aaron felt the information flowing easily, as if he was simply reporting on his normal existence. He was in what could be called a preparation center, a place where souls came to get ready for incarnation. Some souls came directly from the healing spaces where they rested after death. Others came after studying in what might be called soul schools, learning spaces where they developed understanding of consciousness and energy. All of them eventually came to the preparation center when they were ready to plan their next lifetime and prepare for the transition back to physical form. And Aaron's soul, whose name in this realm was something like Kellen, worked here. He was an incarnation guide, someone who helped souls navigate the complex process of choosing and preparing for a new lifetime. He had been doing this work for a very long time, thousands of years, by Earth measurement, helping countless souls remember how to incarnate, how to navigate the forgetting and the challenges of physical existence, how to fulfill their purposes and learn their lessons. Dr. Vivian asked Kellen to show a typical interaction with the soul he was helping. The scene shifted, and Aaron saw himself, his soul, sitting with another soul in a quiet space. This other soul was preparing to incarnate and was filled with fear and uncertainty. They had chosen a challenging life template, one that involves significant obstacles and painful lessons, and now, facing the reality of actually going through with it, they were having doubts. Kellen listened with infinite patience as the soul expressed their fears. What if they forgot who they were completely? What if the pain was too much? What if they made mistakes and wasted the lifetime? What if they hurt people or failed to fulfill their purpose? These were questions every soul had before incarnating, especially those choosing difficult life circumstances. Kellen had heard them thousands of times, and each time he offered the same loving guidance. He reminded the soul that forgetting was part of the design, not a flaw. They would forget their spiritual nature temporarily so they could fully experience being human, could genuinely go through the lessons without the comfort of cosmic perspective, protecting them from the real intensity of physical existence. But the forgetting was never complete. Deep inside, in the core of their being, they would always carry the knowing of who they truly were. And at the right moments, triggered by the right experiences, they would remember. Kellen also reminded the soul that they had prepared for this lifetime extensively. They had studied the lessons they wanted to learn. They had made agreements with other souls who would play key roles. They had chosen their gifts and strengths specifically to help them handle the challenges. They weren't going in unprepared or unsupported. Even when they felt alone in physical form, guides would be with them, sending intuition and synchronicities, arranging meetings and opportunities, supporting them from the unseen realms. And most importantly, Kellen told the soul they had done this before. This wasn't their first incarnation. They had lived many physical lives, had died many times, had returned to the soul realm again and again. They knew the cycle. They knew that physical death was just a transition back to this peaceful state. The lifetime might feel eternal while they were in it, but from the soul's perspective it was brief, a learning experience, an adventure, a chance to grow in ways that could only happen through direct physical experience. The soul's anxiety began to ease as Kellen spoke, but they still had questions about the specific challenges in their upcoming life. How would they handle losing a parent young? How would they survive the financial struggles? How would they find their purpose when everything around them pushed them toward conventional paths? Kellen guided them to access their own wisdom, to remember that they had chosen these specific challenges for specific reasons. The early loss would teach them about impermanence and what truly mattered. The financial struggles would teach them that security came from within, not from external circumstances. The pressure toward convention would teach them to honor their authentic self. Dr. Vivian asked Kellen to show another type of work he did. Aaron saw himself in a different setting, a space that felt like a classroom. There were multiple souls gathered, all of them preparing to incarnate in the same general time period on Earth. Kellen was teaching them about the transition itself, the process of moving from soul consciousness into physical form, the stages of forgetting and the markers that would help them remember. He explained that the transition happened in stages. First, the soul would merge with the fetus, usually around the 4th month of pregnancy, but sometimes earlier or later depending on the individual soul and circumstances. Initially, they would maintain much of their cosmic awareness even while in the developing body. But as birth approached, and especially after birth, the forgetting would intensify. The density of physical reality, the demands of the baby body, the programming from the environment would all layer on top of their soul, knowing, creating the illusion of being a separate, limited human with no memory of spiritual nature. But Kellen taught them markers to recognize, signs that would trigger remembering when they were ready, certain experiences that would crack open the forgetting. Moments of profound beauty that would remind them of the soul realm. Encounters with certain people from their soul family who would feel familiar in inexplicable ways. Dreams and visions that would carry memories of who they truly were. Crises and challenges that would force them to access deeper resources, connecting them back to soul wisdom. He also taught them how to work with their guides. He explained that each soul would have at least one primary guide assigned to them, a being who would watch over their entire incarnation, sending support and guidance. But most souls would forget about their guides completely, would think they were alone when they never were. Kellen taught them techniques they could use even after forgetting, practices like meditation and intuition and paying attention to synchronicities, ways of maintaining connection with their guides even through the veil of physical consciousness. Dr. Vivian asked Kellen how long he had been doing this work. Aaron felt for the timeline and was amazed by what he found. Kellen had been serving as an incarnation guide for approximately 8,000 years of Earth time. He had helped prepare tens of thousands of souls for their earthly some souls he had worked with only once, others he had helped prepare for multiple incarnations, developing deep bonds with them across the cycles of their physical lifetimes. And Kellen himself had incarnated during this period. He hadn't been exclusively in the between-life realm. Approximately every 200 to 300 years, he would take a lifetime himself, would go to Earth to directly experience the current state of humanity and the challenges souls were facing. This experiential knowledge made him a better guide, gave him fresh understanding of what incarnation actually felt like, kept him connected to the physical realm he was helping souls enter. Dr. Vivian asked if Aaron's current life as Aaron was one of these periodic incarnations. Kellen confirmed, yes, absolutely. Aaron was born in 1981, specifically to experience the late 20th and early 21st centuries, a critical time of transition for humanity. Kellen needed to understand what it was like to be incarnated during this particular period so he could better guide the many souls who would be born in the coming decades. Aaron's life was both a learning experience for his soul and field research for his between-life work. This explained so much about Aaron's life patterns. The recognitions from strangers were souls he had helped prepare for incarnation, recognizing their guide. Even though both of them were now in physical form and had forgotten their between-life connection, the deep conversations and insights he offered were him unconsciously accessing his incarnation guide skills, doing his guide work even while incarnated. The sense of not quite fitting in was because his soul's primary work was elsewhere, in the between-life realm, making his physical existence feel somewhat temporary and peripheral. Dr. Vivian asked Kellen to show the moment when he decided to incarnate as Aaron. Aaron saw his soul in the preparation center, working with souls as always. When his own guides approached him, they suggested it was time for another incarnation. Kellen had last been physical in the late 1700s. That was over 200 years ago. It was time to refresh his experiential knowledge, to understand the current challenges facing humanity, to walk among the souls he helped, rather than just counseling them from the between-life realm. Kellen resisted at first. He loved his work. He was good at it. And every time he incarnated, he had to temporarily leave the preparation center, had to stop helping souls for the duration of his physical lifetime. It always felt like abandoning his post, but his guides reminded him that his incarnations made him a better guide, that the souls he helped after each lifetime benefited from his refreshed understanding. And besides, they pointed out gently, Kellen was starting to get out of touch with current Earth reality. His last lifetime had been in the age of horse and carriage. He needed to experience computers and technology, globalization and the internet, the unique pressures and opportunities of the modern world. So Kellen had agreed to incarnate as Aaron. He chose parents who would give him a stable foundation without too much trauma, allowing him to maintain some access to his guide consciousness throughout his life. He chose natural abilities in listening and counseling, ensuring he would be able to do his guide work even in human form. He planned to work in helping professions or roles where he could support people through transitions and challenges, and he made agreements with certain souls he had previously helped, souls who were incarnating around the same time, that they would meet him in physical form and help trigger his remembering through their recognition of him. Dr. Vivian asked if the woman in the coffee shop was one of these souls. Kellen confirmed yes, she was one he had specifically helped prepare for her current incarnation. She had been terrified of being born, afraid of the responsibility of physical existence, worried she wouldn't be strong enough. Kellen had spent what felt like months with her, slowly building her confidence, teaching her techniques for staying connected to her soul wisdom, promising that she would be okay. And he had made an agreement with her that when they met in physical form, the meeting would trigger memories in both of them, would help Aaron remember his guide role, and help her remember the support she had received. Dr. Vivian guided Aaron to see other souls he had helped who were currently incarnate. Aaron saw hundreds, maybe thousands of faces. Some were people he had met in his current life. Many were strangers scattered across the planet. People he would never meet physically, but who carried his energetic signature from the help he had given them. Each one had received specific guidance from Kellen about their incarnation, specific tools and perspectives to help them navigate their chosen challenges. And Aaron understood that even though he was currently in physical form, he was still helping these souls. The guidance he had given them before they were born continued to work in their subconscious, and through his interactions with the ones he did meet, he was reinforcing and updating that guidance, offering new perspectives as their lives unfolded in ways that couldn't be fully predicted during the pre-birth planning stage. Dr. Vivian asked what would happen after Aaron's current lifetime ended. Would Kellen return to the preparation center and resume his guide work? Aaron felt the answer as a definite yes. This incarnation as Aaron was temporary, a research mission. When it was complete, when Aaron's body died, Kellen would return to the between-life realm and go back to his work helping other souls prepare for incarnation. He might take another physical lifetime eventually, probably in another 200 to 300 years if the pattern held. But his primary work, his true calling, was as a guide in the preparation center. Dr. Vivian asked if Kellen had a message for Aaron about how to live this current lifetime. Kellen's response was clear and loving. Aaron should embrace the guide work that was happening through him, should trust the insights and perspectives that came when people sought his help. He wasn't making it up or overstepping. He was doing his soul's work, just in physical form. Every person he helped, every deep conversation, every moment of support he offered was an extension of the preparation work he did between lives. Kellen also told Aaron not to worry so much about his own life path and accomplishments. Aaron often felt he should be doing something more significant, building a bigger career, making more money, achieving more visible success. But that was ego talking, not soul. His soul's work was happening exactly as it should. He was gathering experiences and understanding that would make him a better guide. He was meeting the souls he had agreed to meet. He was supporting people through transitions in ways that might seem small but that had profound effects. This was enough. This was the purpose. Dr. Vivian brought Aaron back to present consciousness carefully. Knowing this had been a deep and significant experience, when Aaron opened his eyes, he was crying but also smiling. Everything made sense now. The strange recognitions, the confiding strangers, the insights that flowed through him. He wasn't weird or different or strange. He was a guide doing his work, helping souls remember how to navigate incarnation, supporting them through the challenges of being human. In the weeks and months after the regression, Aaron's life took on new meaning and direction. He understood his interactions with people differently now. When someone felt compelled to talk to him about their struggles, he recognized it as soul level recognition of his guide role. When insights came to him about what someone needed to hear, he trusted them as coming from his guide consciousness. When he felt drawn to certain people or situations, he followed that draw, knowing it was part of his mission to reconnect with souls he had helped prepare. He also started consciously developing his guide skills. He trained in counseling and life coaching, giving himself frameworks and tools to support the intuitive guidance that came naturally. He created workshops about life transitions and finding purpose, spaces where he could help people remember who they truly were beneath their human conditioning. He wrote about consciousness and soul development, sharing the wisdom that came from his thousands of years as an incarnation guide. And he connected with others who had similar between-life roles. Some were healers who worked in the soul realm as healing centers and carried those healing abilities into their physical incarnations. Some were teachers from the soul schools who felt drawn to education and knowledge sharing in their human lives. Some were what might be called energy workers, souls who helped maintain the light grid between dimensions and who worked with energy and consciousness in their earthly existence. Together, they formed a community of souls who remembered their between-life work and were finding ways to continue that work while they supported each other, shared insights, and collaborated on projects that helped other people remember their own soul nature and purpose. They were building bridges between the physical and spiritual realms, making it easier for incarnated humans to maintain conscious connection with their soul wisdom. Aaron also returned to the coffee shop regularly, hoping to encounter the woman again. When he finally did see her, months after their first meeting, she approached him with a shy smile and told him she was pregnant. She had worked through her fears about motherhood, had realized they were connected to forgetting something important about the beauty and safety of incarnation. Talking to him that day had triggered a memory that set her on a healing path, and now she was ready to welcome a soul into physical form, ready to be the loving parent she had always wanted to be. Aaron congratulated her and thanked her for being brave enough to approach him that first day. Her willingness to share her strange recognition had set him on the path to his own remembering. She was helping him just as much as he had helped her, before either of them was born. In that preparation center where souls gathered to ready themselves for the adventure of being human, years passed. Aaron continued his guide work in physical form, knowing it was temporary, but giving it his full presence and commitment. He knew that eventually this lifetime would end, and Kellen would return to the between-life realm to resume his primary work in the preparation center. But until that time came, he would help every soul who sought his support, would offer guidance to everyone who felt drawn to him, would hold space for people to remember who they truly were beneath the forgetting. And he carried a message for everyone he met, though he didn't always say it in words. The message was that they weren't alone, had never been alone. Before they were born, they had been supported and prepared by guides like him. During their lifetime, guides walked with them, even when they couldn't perceive them. And after death, they would return to the realm of light, where they would be welcomed and celebrated for their courage in taking on the adventure of physical incarnation. He helped them remember that being born was a gift, not a punishment. That forgetting was temporary, not permanent. That their struggles had purpose. Their pain had meaning. Their life had a plan, even when they couldn't see it. He reminded them that they had chosen this, had prepared for this, had agreed to come to Earth during this particular time, for reasons their soul understood even when their mind didn't. And sometimes, in his meditation or dreams, Aaron would feel himself shift into Kellen consciousness. He would find himself back in the preparation center, working with souls who were getting ready to incarnate. He realized that the separation between his guide work and his human life wasn't as clear as he had thought. Kellen hadn't stopped being a guide just because Aaron was incarnated. The work continued in other dimensions, accessible when Aaron's consciousness expanded enough to reach across the veil. This understanding brought him peace. He wasn't abandoning his post by being in human form. He was extending his post, bringing guide consciousness into physical reality, helping from both sides of the veil, simultaneously. And when this lifetime ended, when Aaron died and Kellen fully returned to the between-life realm, he would have so much more to offer the souls he helped. He would understand the 21st century from direct experience. He would know what it felt like to be incarnated during this critical time of human transition. He would be a better guide because of everything Aaron lived and learned. Looking back on his life, Aaron saw how perfectly it had been designed for his soul's dual purpose. The stability of his childhood had allowed him to maintain some conscious connection to his guide awareness. The helping professions he had been drawn to had given him frameworks for the guidance work that came naturally. The souls who recognized him had triggered his remembering at exactly the right time, and his current work helping people through transitions and awakenings was exactly what his soul had intended, the incarnated version of what Kellen did in the preparation center. He felt grateful for the woman in the coffee shop, for her courage in approaching a stranger and sharing her strange vision. Without that catalyst, he might have lived his whole life wondering about the recognitions and strange encounters without ever understanding what they meant. But because of her, he had found his way to Dr. Vivian, had accessed his between-life memories, had discovered his true nature as Kellen the Incarnation Guide, and that discovery had transformed his life from confusing to meaningful, from random to purposeful, from alone to connected with thousands of souls across time and dimensions. Subscribe to discover the between-life work your soul has been doing for thousands of years.